Baking can be tricky. We all know this. It's not easy. So it's important to have a couple of foolproof recipes that you can pull out of the locker when you want to impress someone with a lovely cake, or you just fancy something sweet with your next brew. This is my pineapple and sultana cake, and I think that you're going to absolutely love this. Let's go over the shopping list required. Now, the full ingredient list with measurements can be found in the description box below, and why not jump down there and leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite cake is. Now, you're going to need some self-raising flour. You're going to need some butter or butter alternative. You're going to need 2 eggs. Okay, you're going to need some light muscovado sugar. This is what's going to make it really, really nice and caramel flavour. You're going to need some Glace cherries, some sultanas, and some pineapple. We're going to be using the pineapple and also some of the juice in this recipe. You're also going to need a couple of pieces of equipment. The first is a scale, because we need to be precise. This is baking after all. And you're also going to need a cake tin that is approximately 8 inches. Let's cook. So the first step is just to prepare the pineapple by chopping it up into nice small little chunks. And put that pineapple in a bowl and make sure that you dab it dry, because you want to get rid of all of the moisture, okay? But make sure that you've left some of the juice in the can for later. Do exactly the same with the cherries. Each of these glacé cherries, you should be able to cut into 4 pieces. Then we're going to prepare the cake tin just by putting some of the butter around the tin. Then we're going to put 1 sheet of baking parchment one way. The butter's going to help it to stick. Then get a little bit more of that and just wipe it over this, because we're going to be getting another secondary sheet to go the other way. So the cake tin is nicely covered on all sides. The cake isn't going to stick to the tin. It's not going to be an absolute mess. It's not going to be a write-off. We're all good to go. And then you can put in a little bit more butter just to make sure, the cake doesn't stick. We can start bringing everything together now. I've actually put my mixing bowl on my scale so I can measure it as I go. And the first step is to put in 150 grams of butter, margarine, whatever you prefer. Flora I'm using does the job great. Then I'm just softening that. And then I'm going to add my light muscovado sugar, 120 grams. Okay, 120 grams. It's going to be nice and sweet, nice and caramel. Then we add the 200 grams of self-raising flour. And then I put in the 2 eggs. I'm going to add a secondary one. So it all depends on how it mixes. Sometimes you might need the extra, depending on the size of the eggs. And when I got them, I could only get the medium ones, unfortunately. So that's why I needed a 3rd egg, as you'll see. So once you've got the eggs in, you can start mixing it up and it will start to come together. But as you will notice, for me, it wasn't loose enough, and that's why I decided to add the 3rd egg. Okay, but if you've got 2 large eggs, that will probably be sufficient, because in a moment's time we are going to be adding some of that beautiful juice that came with the pineapple. So you can see now it gets much more looser, much more creamy and smooth. Looks absolutely fantastic, and it should be just slightly dropping from the spoon. Okay, slightly dropping from the spoon, nice and thick, nice and creamy. And this is the stage where we're going to add in all of that absolutely beautiful fruit. So the cherries go in, then the pineapple, then the sultanas. Then you've just got to make sure that you thoroughly mix all of that fruit through the cake mix. It's going to be a little bit thick because there's quite a bit of fruit to cake ratio, but you're going to loosen it down with a few tablespoons of the juice that was in the can with the pineapple. This is going to add a little bit more dimension, a little bit more sweetness, but it's all good. We're now going to be putting the cake mix into the cake tin. Make sure that you get everything out of that bowl. Don't waste any of it. And then just get your spoon and just lightly force it into the corners so it is all nice and level. Now you're going to be baking this in the oven at 160 degrees Celsius, 140 in a fan oven for approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. Now I recently bought a thermometer for my oven and I found out that my oven was actually 20 degrees cooler than it should be. So make sure that your oven is performing correctly. And then when it's done, take it out of the oven and you should see that it should be nice and golden brown, and the side of the cake should be slightly coming away from the baking parchment. Now let it cool in the tin and then take it out and put it on a wire rack to completely cool all the way through before you even consider serving. I know it's going to be tempting because it's going to look so incredible, but make sure it cools completely for best results. Let's give it a taste. Alright guys, today's cook was a simple pineapple cherry sultana cake. Now if you watch any episodes of the Bake Off, you'll know that baking is a science, and even those guys who are perceived to be like the experts, they fail almost every single week. So baking is difficult. You have to get everything really precise, otherwise you're going to make mistakes. So I wanted to bring a series of simple foolproof recipes that you can rely on, and this is one of them. This is one of my favorite ones. This is a great one to have with a cup of tea, cup of coffee, fruity, and the fact that this has pineapple, wow, this is so good. So let's just have a test. It's got a lovely bite to it, a lovely crumb to it. It's lovely and moist. It's got a nice selection of fruits, not just one: cherry, pineapple, sultana. This is a good one. Give it a go. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next week for another video. Take a bite.